Can you dual boot Windows 11 and Ubuntu without a USB drive? In today's tech world, a question gaining traction is whether you can dual boot Windows 11 and Ubuntu without the use of a USB drive. This topic is particularly relevant as more users seek flexibility in their operating systems. If you are one of those users wanting to run both Windows 11 and Ubuntu, you might be curious about the options available to you. Let's break down what you need to know. Yes, it is indeed possible to dual boot Windows 11 and Ubuntu without a USB drive, but it involves some advanced steps. Typically, the standard method for installing Ubuntu alongside Windows involves creating a bootable USB drive. However, there are alternative ways to achieve this. One method is to use a virtual drive or an ISO boot method. This allows you to configure your system to boot directly from an Ubuntu ISO file stored on your hard drive. To do this, you will need to set up a boot manager like Grub. You can also use tools such as EasyBCD on Windows. These tools let you add an entry that points to the Ubuntu ISO. When you reboot your computer, you can select the Ubuntu installation from the boot menu. Before you can install Ubuntu, you need to prepare your hard drive. This involves partitioning your disk in Windows. You will need to shrink your Windows partition using Windows Disk Management or third-party partition software. This step is crucial to create space for the Ubuntu installation and to avoid any data loss. Once you have created the new partition, you can proceed to install Ubuntu. After booting into the Ubuntu installer via the ISO boot method, the installation process will typically detect your Windows 11 installation. The installer will set up a dual boot configuration for you. After the installation is complete, the Grub bootloader will manage the startup process. This means you will be able to choose between Windows 11 and Ubuntu each time you start your computer. While this method avoids the need for a USB drive, it is important to note that it is more complex and may pose risks for users who are not familiar with bootloaders and partitioning. For those less experienced, using a USB drive remains the simplest and safest way to dual boot Windows 11 and Ubuntu. In summary, dual booting Windows 11 and Ubuntu without a USB drive is possible by booting from an ISO file on your hard drive. However, it requires careful management of disk partitions and bootloaders. Make sure you have the technical knowledge needed to carry out these steps safely.